Gamley, for your prayers. This is an issue of immense concern right now. This is a terrible, terrible fire raging in Peachland, BC. This is in the beautiful Okanagan country of British Columbia. It's north of Idaho, so just as Idaho and Montana are being targeted by whatever forces, BC as well. This fire came out of nowhere. Montreal Gazette today, 1:10 a.m. Quebec time. Okay, this is out of Montreal, www.montrealgazette.com. BC lady mentioned this to me. Came across it a little bit earlier tonight, and please keep this in your prayers. It's horrific. Just horrific. A wildfire burns out of control along Highway 97C near Peachland, BC on Sunday, September 9, 2012. Authorities have ordered the evacuation of about 1,000 people from the path of a wildfire raging near Peachland, BC. From the Canadian Press, Jeff Bassett. Okay, and of course, I'm sure that the Vancouver Sun, many other papers are carrying this. This is the first thing I could find. Thousands of people grabbed their most cherished possessions and fled with a few moments' notice Sunday night from the path of a forest fire in the British Columbia's Okanagan region that was whipped into a frenzy by high winds. So this is not slow moving. This is just minutes to get out. This is a total inferno. The fire was reported in an area called Trepanier Bench. I'm not real good with French, having been raised on the West Coast. Okay, on the west side of Peachland, BC, around 3 p.m., by RCMP officers conducting a speed patrol on the highway. It's only 3 p.m. today. Within a half hour, the first evacuation order was issued as winds up to 40 kilometers an hour stoked the flames. By the time darkness fell, and that's just tonight, more than 1,500 people had been ordered to evacuate, and about 800 more were preparing to leave as an evacuation alert was extended into the downtown of the community on the west side of Okanagan Lake. Beautiful area. It was kind of a chaotic scene. People driving down the streets with their trucks full of their belongings, said Natasha Chudik, who was driving from Summerland to Vancouver. Can you imagine? Ashes fell from the sky like snow as helicopters and water bombers picked up water from the lake to try and douse the flames. Chudik said she could taste the smoke in her mouth, and hours later the acrid smell still permeated her truck. After passing through a roadblock to continue the journey to Vancouver, she could see the flames. What was most alarming to me was that there was a ranch that had been evacuated, and the home nearby was on fire, and there were 6 or 7 horses completely on their own. She posted a photo on Twitter, and people who saw the picture were trying to get trailers to evacuate the animals. People losing everything, Gamley. The flames were just grabbing a hold of the trees and just taking off, little fires all over the place. When we got up onto the Okanagan Connector Highway, the fire was right beside the highway. Peachland is 380 kilometers northeast of Vancouver and 25 kilometers southwest of Kelowna on Okanagan Lake. Courtney Waslow, 32, and her husband were forced to flee the home they moved into only 2 weeks before. I heard a report about an hour after we were evacuated that there was a house about a block away from ours that went up in flames, she said. It's a very, very condensed area, and I thought, oh my God, because there's tons of houses up there and lots of properties with horses, and if it goes up, it's going. There would be no way to stop it. She said she'd heard 2 homes had burnt down. Officials did not immediately know how large the fire had become or whether any structures were damaged. It started off as a beautiful summer day with a bright blue sky, said Dave Preston, editor of the Peachland News, as he prepared for a long night on standby to flee his home. The wind did pick up. It was blustering quite well then just a few minutes after 3, and mind you, this is just 3 o'clock this afternoon. Everybody. There was just this enormous column of smoke that rose above the mountainside, and just within minutes the wind picked up horrendously, and the fire just grew and grew right before our eyes, Preston said as night fell, and the helicopters trying to fight the blaze could no longer see well enough to fly. I'm looking up toward the Ponderosa neighborhood, and there's a very eerie orange glow just beyond the hillside. Look at that. Police and emergency vehicles were gathering in the neighborhood, preparing to expand the evacuation order. The nearest home being abandoned was only about 500 meters from the home Preston shares with his wife and son, so you can see how condensed. We're not on alert at this time, but several hours ago we packed up the car just in case, he said. We're not going to go to sleep. If the winds shift, right now they're very calm. There's barely a breeze in the air. But if the winds shift, quite often in the Okanagan at night, the winds do shift, and they come down from the mountains down into the valley. And if that were to happen, we're probably going to be hightailing it out of here. Highway 97, which was closed around Peachland for several hours, reopened around 9 p.m. as winds calmed. One woman told radio station CKFR that she was forced to pick up in less than 20 minutes and report to the support services center in West Bank. Well, it was a lovely Sunday afternoon until the smoke started pouring in, and then it went from a nice, relaxing afternoon to all hell breaks loose in one quick minute, she told the station. So this story goes on just a bit, and just really heartrending. And I should add that Okanagan is no stranger to devastating forest fires. The mountainous region surrounding Okanagan Lake is home to award-winning wineries, but the arid conditions that allow vineyards to prosper also pose a fire hazard in dry summers. 9 years ago in September, a massive fire in and around Kelowna forced the evacuation of more than 27,000 and burned down 239 homes. So again, keep this in your prayers. Prepare, prepare, prepare. We can never know when it's going to be our neighborhood, and do keep Peachland and the Okanagan in your prayers as well. So sad. 2 wolves out.